You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
Right now it's 7. Police in Pittsburgh investigating a deadly shooting at Schlanger Park.
But first, Missouri lawmakers propose a plan to eliminate state income tax.
And we've got a nice sunrise out there, a bit of a cold start to a warm day. A look at your forecast coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Samantha Walker.
And I'm Chris Warner. It's just after 7 a.m. on this Monday, January the 12th. Pretty chilly weekend, but otherwise not too shabby out there. We've got warmer weather on the way, and of course, a new legislative season is underway as well, and some changes being proposed out there.
Yeah, you know, Missouri lawmakers are back in Jefferson City as the new legislative session gets underway.
Now, one of the biggest proposals on the table this year has garnered the support of Governor Mike Kehoe, a plan to eventually eliminate Missouri's state income tax.
KOAM's Nellie Lopez has the details on how lawmakers are taking up the issue.
This week, Missouri kicked off 2026 legislative session. In December, nearly 700 pre-filed proposals were submitted that will now come before the chambers. The governor of the state of Missouri, Mike Kehoe, made a statement about what he hopes to accomplish this year. We look forward to working with the General Assembly this year to advance our budgetary and legislative priorities, including our efforts to responsibly eliminate state income tax. Senator Mary Elizabeth Coleman sponsors Senate Bill 1240, stating current law imposes an income tax on all Missouri taxable income for all the tax years beginning on or after January 1st, 2027. This eliminates the Missouri individual income tax. Senator Jill Carter has sponsored a series of proposals, including Senate Bill 1242, which establishes the Missouri Crime Victims Fund. The Victims of Crime Act of 1984 was passed to assist states in providing high-quality services to those directly related to emotional healing and recovery of abuse. Senator Carter says federal funding for this program has been waning greatly over recent years. This bill will create a state-run program affirming Missouri's support for these victims. We will work to assure the federal bureaucracy doesn't stand in the way of helping victims of these horrible crimes. The Senate will reconvene on Monday, January 12th. As Missouri begins to debut the pre-filed proposals, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas are gearing up for their legislative sessions that'll take place later this winter. In Joplin, Nellie Lopez, KOAM News.
This comes days before the governor of Missouri is set to give his State of the State address outlining his legislative and budgetary priorities this Tuesday.
Of course, a lot to look forward to. State income tax being eliminated. A lot of things to think about because taxes, we don't like them, but they do fund certain things. But how much is too much, and what can we tax and maybe not tax? There's a lot to balance sometimes.
A lot of stories that we'll be continuing to follow here at KOAM.
Certainly
see what's
so.
happening to impact you guys.
Absolutely, and it's kind of like our temperatures. We are continuing to try and balance those, and we still haven't succeeded yet. In fact, after a chilly weekend, pretty cold start this morning, we're going to warm up. Let's start with our live look outside downtown Pittsburgh. Got a couple of clouds here or there. Skies are otherwise clear. Nice start to the day. Our cameras, the Westco camera rather, 7th and Range line in Joplin. Look at that sunrise as well. Just a few clouds. Beautiful coloring out there. KDOT camera, 69-400, looking east along 171. Looks good. And a final stop, the MoDOT camera rather, 20th and Range line in Joplin, looking good as well. Let's take a look at temperatures. As we discussed on the KOAM side, and those of you maybe weren't with us and you're just joining us now at 7, this temperature is wrong. There is an issue with the reporting station in Pittsburgh, so that temperature is not correct. I have figured that one out. 37 is where we're at in Joplin. So just a heads up again, because the National Weather Service site also receiving that same data, which we know is not correct, especially considering how chilly everyone else is around you. I mean, earlier this morning when temperatures were a bit lower, definitely had an impact, but this morning it's a little harder to tell, but still, it's not right. Most of us upper 20s, low to mid 30s across the area with a light breeze. You can see how it's impacting wind chill data too. We've got wind chills back into the low to mid 20s for the majority of us out there, so a bit chillier as we get the day started. But like I said, we have a pretty nice warm up across the region. Southwest winds gusting to 25 at times, a passing cloud here or there, otherwise clear and quite mild with those highs climbing. So we're going to go upper 30s by 9. Low 50s by noon, ultimately into the upper 50s for our highs today, and southwest winds, as I mentioned, gusting to 25. It's breezy tonight, breezy tomorrow, slightly warmer tomorrow, and then a cold front early Wednesday. It's going to turn all of this upside down. Well, details in just a few more minutes. Samantha?
Chris, thanks. Police in Pittsburgh are investigating a deadly shooting at Schlinger Park Friday night. Officers were called to the park this weekend where they found an 18-year-old man suffering from gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Police identified the victim as Adam Busari of Girard. Investigators say a brief altercation took place before the shooting. A suspect later fled the scene but was located less than an hour later in Arma. A 17-year-old juvenile was taken into custody and is now being held at a regional juvenile detention center. The juvenile is facing a charge of second-degree murder. The investigation remains ongoing. Indivisible Joplin held a peaceful protest yesterday along 7th and Range Line to call attention to recent national events involving immigration and customs enforcement. The group gathered to honor Renee Good, an American citizen killed by an ICE agent in Minneapolis on Wednesday, and to demand accountability for violence and abuse by federal immigration authorities. Organizers stressed nonviolence throughout the event, reminding participants to de-escalate any potential conflicts. The protest ended with a moment of silence as community members reflected on Good's death and called for national reform. An Independence, Missouri man was found guilty of multiple charges, including double murder. Friday, a jury in Cherokee County, Kansas, found Kyle Lynn Butts guilty on all charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of attempted murder, and 1 count of interference with law enforcement. The conviction stems from an incident back in November of 2022. Baxter Springs authorities responded to reports of a shooting in the 2400 block of Lincoln. When officers arrived on scene, they attempted life-saving measures for 3 individuals suffering from gunshot wounds. Jeremy Murphy of Anderson, Missouri, and Craig Gwynn of Pineville, Missouri, died at the scene. The third man, Seth Gwynn, also of Pineville, was taken to a hospital in critical condition. Both prosecution and defense presented closing arguments Friday afternoon. The defense argued the murder was not premeditated and was out of self-defense. The prosecution argues Butts, quote, selected his targets and shot them with the intention of ending their lives. The jury returned its guilty verdict after approximately 5.5 hours of deliberation. Butts faces a mandatory sentence of life in prison with no possibility of parole for 50 years on the murder convictions. A sentencing date has been scheduled for March 9th. The 2026 legislative session kicks off in southeast Kansas. Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce held the 2026 legislative send-off on the campus of Pitt State. KLM's Ty Parks has details from the meeting.
The Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce holds a legislative send-off in the Alumni Center. Community members of Pittsburgh are able to listen to the priorities of the elected officials.
The Chamber for so long has always been a big supporter of state funding for Pittsburgh State University, and will continue to do that. We've also been big proponents for transportation projects through southeast Kansas.
State Senator Tim Schallenberger shares his thoughts on the upcoming session.
Well, I don't have a particular personal agenda. There are some issues related to health care, pharmacies, some contracts, negotiation type things that I've got some bills drafted for. Other than that, it's just trying to help manage the whole thing. Pittsburgh State will be in fine shape. They're growing. Pittsburgh is growing. One of the few small towns in Kansas that's holding its own or growing. We still have high poverty levels down here, but we're working on that. So what we need some real good private sector jobs.
Kansas House Representative Chuck Smith believes the main theme of the session is management.
I don't think there will be great changes. I really do. We'll do what we can. We'll help hospitals. We'll help nursing homes. We'll help, daycare people. But that's a form of health care. And, like I say, we will do that kind of thing.
In Pittsburgh, Ty Parks, KOAM News.
Some of the concerns brought up from community members are about child care requirements and property tax changes. And those are our top news stories this half hour. Coming up, Fort Scott's Community Relations Director Rachel Carpenter is in the studio to discuss the upcoming MLK celebration. Topping Health Watch. Flu cases are on the decline, according to health officials, but they remain skeptical on whether the worst cases of the flu season have peaked. New government data posted Friday for flu activity shows declines in medical office visits due to flu-like illness and in the number of states reporting high flu activity. However, some experts say the severity of this year's flu season has surpassed last year. Data also found that more than 91% of H3N2 infections analyzed are of a flu strain variant that differs from the strain in this year's flu shots. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention estimates there have been at least 15 million flu illnesses and 180,000 hospitalizations with 7,400 deaths, and that includes the deaths of 17 children from the flu so far. Experts also say there is often a surge in cases, then a decline, and then a second surge. This comes after federal health officials on Monday announced they will no longer recommend flu vaccinations for U.S. children. If you're thinking of moving for health reasons, you might consider heading to New Hampshire. The United Health Foundation's annual rankings found the Granite State is the healthiest state in the nation. Researchers looked at nearly 100 factors, including premature death, excessive drinking, chronic conditions, drug deaths, exercise, and smoking. The study put Louisiana in last place. The report found that overall, the country is making progress on health issues. The research said national mortality rates improved, with a drop in the rate of premature death and drug death. And there's been an uptick in cancer screenings, physical activity, and volunteerism. Well, a health clinic in Washington state is using a unique treatment aimed at treating patients with depression and OCD. What makes this treatment unique is that it's done without the use of drugs. Fox's AJ Geneville has more.
It's called a transcranial magnetic stimulation device. This goes right onto your head and is FDA approved to treat depression as well as OCD without the use of any drugs.
What it's doing is that it's giving gentle magnetic pulses to a specific area in your brain, which is then reactivating the neurons that might be lying dormant and that could be contributing to your depression, your OCD, your other mental health conditions.
Melissa Mason is a psychiatric nurse practitioner at Modern Mind and Wellness in Bellevue. She tells me any patient, 15 years old and up, can be prescribed the TMS therapy if they meet the criteria for treatment. Each session with the TMS device takes about 30 minutes from walking in and walking out the door of the clinic. A total of 36 sessions are needed for effectiveness, and all a patient needs to do during the session is just sit back and let the TMS device do the work.
What we do is we have the location of where we're trying to treat already mapped out over here. So we'll place the coil right at the treatment location, right over here, and we make sure that we're making really good contact.
Yossi Ellison is a TMS coordinator. He tells me the technology used in the treatments are similar to an MRI machine.
The patient does feel like a light tapping, which those are the pulses that are coming out of the coil to the specific area.
Mason tells me the only side effects a patient may feel is a temporary headache after treatment. She's hopeful more people dealing with depression will consider this alternative to drugs.
That is the largest barrier with TMS therapy, is that people just don't know about it, right? Insurance is covering it, but people just aren't aware of the therapy.
For more information on TMS therapy and to see if you might qualify, go to fox13seattle.com. Reporting in Bellevue, AJ Janeville, Fox 13 News.
Well, coming up for the second time in the last year, Harry's Cafe in Pittsburgh has closed down.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 7:18 now on this Monday morning. We're going to start with the future track, where again today, even though we got a pretty cold start out there, it's looking to be pretty darn nice. We got just a passing cloud or two. If you look close enough, there's one there, one in the southern Washington County. Excuse me, we put this into motion. There goes another passing cloud, but otherwise a really good day out there. We'll have southwest winds occasionally gusting upwards of about 25 miles an hour. It'll stay breezy today, tonight, and into tomorrow, and very likely again on Wednesday. But at least today through tomorrow, that breezy condition is bringing in warmer air. As a matter of fact, tomorrow we're expecting to be just a hair warmer than where we're going to be today. Same thing most of the day. Skies are clear with the exception of a few passing clouds. It'll be late in the day. And clouds will begin to increase. We could get a couple of isolated showers late tomorrow evening. I think any better chances, again, they'll be isolated for any kind of showers, will be after midnight as we head into the very early morning hours on Wednesday. We got a few showers out there. Those will continue again through the first part of our Wednesday. Cold front is approaching. As it pushes through, winds will shift out of the north. They'll be a bit on the gusty side. Skies will begin to clear, and temperatures are going to be on the considerably colder side as we head into Wednesday as well. So the thing is, on Wednesday, it's going to be one of those times, because we have this happen especially in the winter season, where we're going to hit highs very early Wednesday, and then temperatures are going to drop gradually through the day. There's another view of that sunrise from 7th and Rangeline. Absolutely gorgeous out there. And take a look at this. Yeah, I know it's cold to start, but that is almost a 15-degree jump in temperatures in just 4 hours, which is just a hint as to how much warmer today it's going to be. Mid-30s to start, upper 40s by 11. Our highs today cruising into the upper 50s, and again, southwest winds 10 to 15, occasionally gusting to 25. They ease up yay much as we go into the overnight hours. Clear skies continue. Southwest winds gusting to 20, down to about 40 tonight. Tomorrow, upper 50s, a few more low 60s, still breezy. Southwest winds still gusting to 20. And then this is the thing. Take a look. 42 Tuesday night to 46 on Wednesday. That's not a big change, and that is because, again, any high temperatures we see Wednesday are going to be very early in the morning, probably pre-sunrise, as ahead of that front pushing through. Temperatures thankfully don't plummet through the day, but it's going to feel like if those gusty north winds were dropping back into the teens. As we head into Thursday, cooler. We're still cool on Friday, and yes, those snow flurries are still there Friday into Saturday, but again, as you'd see, the chances are pretty low, not looking overly impressive, but they are there because look at these temperatures dropping back into the teens again, and then temperatures only to the mid to upper 30s this weekend, and then because Mother Nature truly, honestly, cannot make up her mind, that's a possibility. And of course, it's still a little over a week away, but it does look as though we could start warming right back up into the 60s. So we're talking another 30-degree jump in 24 to 48 hours next week if this pattern holds. So get ready for a rocky ride. That is a check of your forecast. Coming up next, Rachel Carpenter is joining us live in the studio to tell us everything we need to know about the upcoming Martin Luther King Jr. celebration. We'll be right back.
Well, welcome back. We're joined this morning with Rachel Carpenter. She's the Community Relations Director for the City of Fort Scott. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here and to be able to share about what we have going on in Fort Scott.
And I know some of the really exciting things that you coming up are surrounding the Martin Luther King Jr. celebrations.
Yes, so the Gorman Parks Museum is putting these events on. This Thursday, we are having a lunch and learn. So Dr. Priska Barnes from Wichita will be doing a presentation on the dock incident, which was a protest, a peaceful protest in the 1950s to integrate in Wichita. So it's so exciting to have someone present on something that was so local to us here in Kansas. So we're going to, it's from noon to 1, and we're going to have soup, and it's just going to be we're going to be able to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that day.
Amazing. And there's, I know, a whole lot happening in Fort Scott, and it's very exciting, So this is coming up this Thursday. Really soon. Do you guys have anything else coming up?
Yes. On Monday, on the actual holiday that celebrates Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., we're going to kick things off with a can drive. So we will be collecting cans and non-perishable foods from 9 to 2. And so you can just bring them to Ellis Fine Arts Center. It's on the campus of Fort Scott Community College, and it's just our way of giving back to the community. And then we're going to have another lunch and learn, and with that one, we are going to have a presentation on the letter to Birmingham from the Birmingham jail. And so we are partnering with Pitt State University and with Fort Scott Community College. They're going to have their students read the lines from the letter. And last year I attended this. They read the I Have a Dream speech. and it was just so moving. There was not a dry eye in the crowd. And so for them to read this letter, I'm just going to bring a lot of tissues because it's just so moving. It was from a time where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he was in jail after a protest, and he was reading a news article, and they were telling him that he needs to stop. It's not time yet, stop what you're doing. And so this letter was to everyone to take action. Don't be stationary. It is time. The waiting is over. So I'm so excited to hear all these student voices coming together to read this letter. And then we're going to end things with the showing of, and remember it's a PBS documentary. They're at the Ellis Fine Arts Center.
Amazing. It sounds like it's going to be so incredible. Are there any, costs associated with attending these events?
No, they are all free. Thanks to the Humanities Kansas grant. They are the ones that are funding to bring in our speakers. And then the food is at no cost as well, thanks to Great Western Dining through Fort Scott Community College.
Amazing. So if people back home are sitting back and thinking, this is going to be a great way to celebrate him and maybe learn something I didn't know before and just honor his legacy, where can they go to learn more information and maybe find a schedule of these events?
Yeah, so they can go to the GordonParkCenter.com and there's a schedule of all the events. I know there's a ton, and there's a ton to remember, so they will have all the hours and everything and where to go.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be so special and so meaningful, Rachel. Thank you so much for joining us and telling about it this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Well, we'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:31. I'm Samantha Wonker. A new drought monitor shows conditions worsening across Missouri and Arkansas. The latest data shows more areas shifting into moderate and severe drought, including parts of the Ozarks. Nick Kelly breaks down what this means for the community.
Last time KY3 spoke with farmer Jason Waka in Christian County, he was waiting for spring and summer rain to let up so he could get his crops planted. While he got a good yield of corn last season, a returning drought has been a mixed blessing for him. On one hand, he's keeping things going with plenty of alfalfa and hay to sell. However,
where we usually cut this crop 4 or 5 times, a lot of it only got 3 cuttings this year. And some of these cuttings we attempted on a 4th cutting, there wasn't even anything there to speak of as far as harvesting.
That meant going to other places across Missouri and Kansas to get additional hay to sell. Now, he's already thinking ahead to the next growing season.
We're going to be planting crops here in 2 to 3 months, and if we don't have some moisture for that, that's going to be a slow start for the year.
Foundation repair businesses stay busy with calls, especially after the rain dried up.
We have a lot of clay soils in our ground, so when it gets real wet, the clay swells, and then when it gets real dry, it shrinks. And so now everything starts to sink into the ground. So you see just a lot of foundation movement happening.
SMAS wants homeowners to keep watch for cracks in their foundation or if doors and windows don't work properly. Those can point to repairs that can be best resolved sooner rather than later.
The problem will domino and get worse if you just keep letting it go. So at the worst case, make the call to go, hey, let's see what's happening. Sometimes the repairs are super simple and we can stop the problem right away.
Reporting for KY3, I'm Nick Kelly.
Now here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Now, of course, those of you at home may remember Nick Kelly, weekend meteorologist here for about a decade or so. Always great to hear him, great to see him just down the road in Springfield. And for us here, looks great. Got a few clouds, beautiful sunrise this morning. In fact, there's the sun right there from downtown Pittsburgh. Westco camera, 7th and range line. I'm going to move to this side so you can see the colors. You can see those few clouds out there. KDOT camera, 69-400, looking east along 171. Looking good as well. Traffic's moving. Of course, that's always a good thing. And same from MoDOT camera, 20th and range line in Joplin. Things getting underway. Folks getting underway. Another nice day. In fact, temperatures, though, are going to be quite nice. We're 37 in Joplin. And as I've mentioned, just again, ignore the Pittsburgh temperature right now. There is a reporting station issue that's there, so that's not really 53. Later, that number will probably be correct, just not right now. We do have a mix of upper 20s and low to mid 30s for most of us out there, and our wind chills, even with that light breeze, have still been hanging out into the low to mid 20s across most of the region this morning. The good news is even though it's going to stay breezy, it will warm up. We're going to have southwest winds out there. We're going to have just a few clouds, otherwise sunny skies. It's just an absolutely beautiful day. If this was, again, March, it's not March though. It still is January, about halfway through the month, and temperatures climbing. Upper 30s by 9, low 50s by noon, upper 50s for those highs. Southwest winds 10 to 15, occasionally gusting upwards of 25. Now, tonight, tomorrow, still breezy, still warmer tomorrow. Not by a lot, but it will be warmer tomorrow. We're going to talk about that, plus a cold front early Wednesday. It's going to bring in some big changes here in just a few more minutes. Samantha?
Book lovers gathered at the Joplin Public Library Saturday for the much-anticipated book swap. Community members brought in books they finished and left with something new, whether it was one title or an entire stack. Attendees enjoyed sharing their favorite reads, discovering new stories, and connecting with fellow book lovers. The Webb City Historical Society held its annual meeting at the city library this weekend. During the event, attendees heard about the society's latest project, placing historical markers on more than 20 homes throughout Webb City, a project that started as an Eagle Scout initiative. The meeting also included the presentation of a Webb City History Champion Award.
I think someone suggested to me when I was trying to come up with project ideas, and there was, I knew this city had a lot of history, and I kind of thought that I should recognize it.
During the event, society officers and board members were also elected.
As much as she loved her job, Killer Chandra Nichols could tell things were trending in the opposite direction.
There is a lot of door dashing. There's a lot of eating at home. We've seen an increase in local activity being out at all these local businesses, but it has dropped down from what it was years ago.
This marks the second time the cafe has closed. The first time came in January 2025, before relatives and community members pitched in to reopen it 2 months later. This time around, however, it's a little more uncertain.
We didn't have that backing with us anymore, and unfortunately we were hindered by too many back issues that were owed by everyone. So, like I said, a sinking ship with a bunch of holes can't always be repaired.
Although its surrounding businesses have thrived, competition never seemed to be an issue.
We are real big here in this area about businesses supporting businesses, and where one of us may need help, one of the other us will step in and help each other out. It's all about creating a bigger and a better community in our local area.
Nichols says that the close-knit nature of the cafe is something that's hard to replicate.
I experienced 3 of the best years of my life in this place. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, but it was one of the biggest shows of community I've ever seen in this place. It is not a typical place.
In Pittsburgh, Kenny Foreman, KOAM News.
At this time, the owners have not commented on the future of the cafe. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. In St. Louis, Missouri, animal control is going bananas, trying to find several monkeys of unknown origin. In Consumer Watch, hundreds of GameStop stores across the country could be closing. A report says the video game store company plans to close more than 400 stores across 42 states this month. This comes as Securities and Exchange Commission filing from GameStop shows it closed nearly 600 stores in the fiscal year of 2024. The company also plans to end most of its operations internationally, including in Canada, Germany, Italy, and France. The Food and Drug Administration upgrades a recall of certain cheese products. The FDA announced certain cheese products produced by Aubriola, a company, have been upgraded to the highest danger level after testing positive for listeria. The FDA says 8 cheese products have been impacted by the recall and were distributed nationwide between November 3rd and November 20th. The affected products included the Locatelli grated Pecorino Romano 4-ounce and 8-ounce plastic cups with lids, 12 units per case, and a Locatelli crated Pecorino Romano 5 and 10-pound plastic bags. The recall was originally issued by the FDA in November and was upgraded to a Class 1 recall on Tuesday, which means the use of the product may cause serious health consequences or death. Customers are urged to throw out the products or return them for a refund. Well, Walmart is expanding its drone delivery service. The nation's largest retailer has announced it is significantly ramping up its partnership with the drone delivery company Wing, adding 150 more stores. That means by next year, Walmart's drone delivery option will be available at over 270 locations, including Los Angeles, Miami, and St. Louis. Walmart says the service offers rapid delivery, often under 20 minutes, for items like under 5 pounds, like groceries and health products. The company, Y, points to the success of the drone service in Dallas, Fort Worth, and Atlanta as incentive to increase the service's coverage area. And those are our top consumer stories. Let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News at 7:44 now on this Monday morning. We're starting with our future track where, again, a passing cloud or two possible today. Not expecting much. It will be breezy and it will be warmer. In fact, if you look, you'll see there goes another little passing cloud. But I think overall, we should have clear skies across the area. And again, much warmer temperatures than what we saw over the weekend. Now, this warm up, though, is brief. We get another decent day tomorrow. It's still going to be breezy tonight, still going to be breezy tomorrow. Few passing clouds. Most of Tuesday, the skies are going to be mostly clear. Later in the day Tuesday, especially as we had in the late evening, we could see clouds increasing. Now, future track again suggesting we could see some showers late tomorrow night. Well, it's not out of the question. It's not looking as promising as what happens after midnight, which even then, the expectation after midnight isn't all that impressive yet either. But we could get some additional scattered showers across the region. No thunderstorms expected. We just don't have the right setup for any of that. But some of us at least could get some rain very early Wednesday morning as this cold front slides through the area. Now, this cold front is going to cause us to hit our high temperatures for Wednesday, probably about here. Some of you may hit it a little earlier. It's all going to depend on how quickly that front comes through and how quickly temperatures begin to drop on the backside. But I think in all likelihood, ahead of sunrise on Wednesday, that's when we're going to hit our high temperatures for the day. The temperatures will begin to drop as we head through the afternoon into the evening and overnight hours. Now, while temperatures will not plummet, or at least they're not expected to at this point Wednesday, skies clear, but we get this gusty north wind, and that's going to make it feel as though those temperatures have plummeted because we're going to be dipping down into the teens by Wednesday night. As for this morning, again, clear skies for the most part. And take a look at these temperatures. Oh, yeah, no, I bumped this. I was wondering why I was yelling at myself. Okay, look at these temperatures, though. A nearly 15-degree rise in just 4 hours. So a nice warm-up. Very, very nice warm-up. Mid-30s to start, upper 40s by 11 a.m. As we head into the afternoon, our highs today into the upper 50s, couple of low 60s down south, not out of the question. And southwest winds 10 to 15, again gusting occasionally up to 25 miles an hour. Into the evening, clear skies continuing, eventually back down to about 40 tonight. And those southwest winds still gusting they'll be at 5 to 10, gusting to 20. Tomorrow, southwest winds still gusting up to 25, and then we climb, most of us, into the low 60s, some upper 50s up north, not out of the question. And this is what I'm talking about. Take a look. Now, granted, this is one particular point, but regardless of what your numbers are, it's going to look about like this. 42 is the low Tuesday, only to 46 for the high, because again, we're going to hit that high very likely before sunrise on Wednesday. Then the skies clear out after those showers. We get breezy. It gets cold down into the teens. It's not too bad Thursday, Friday, somewhat seasonable. And then another little wave brings us an opportunity for some isolated flurries. Nothing major expected there. It's not looking impressive. It's the temperature change that's looking impressive, dropping below normal into this weekend, back into the 30s for highs. And then if Mother Nature decides to hold course, we'll be back into the low to mid 60s by the second half of next week. That's Check Your Forecast. We're back with more right after this.
Well, thousands of wireless chargers sold at popular off-price department stores are being recalled over fire and burn hazard concerns. 13,200 Isla Ray branded magnetic wireless chargers sold at the U.S. at TJ Maxx and Marshalls have been recalled by the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission over fears that the device may explode while in use.
An additional 7,000 of the magnetic wireless chargers were also sold in Canada. The devices were sold in the retail chain stores between June of 24 and November of 25. Yes.
The CPSC says consumers should immediately stop using the chargers. Yes, if they're going to explode, I would also recommend that. And should properly dispose of them at municipal household hazardous waste collection centers or to home improvement centers.
You don't want your charger exploding. And you got to be careful because there's so many different things. Lithium batteries can be hazardous. Like, they're used in everything almost these days, but they can also start fires pretty quickly too.
There's some terrifying videos of that.
There's like an office building that burned down because of a laptop battery that shorted out, started a fire in a small office, burned the place down. Well, something pretty cool, a rare copy of the comic book that introduced the world to Superman has been sold for a record $15 million. The comic book publications marked the beginning of the superhero genre.
It was the center of a lot of attention in the year 2000 when it was stolen from the home of its owner at the time, actor Nicolas Cage. You have to wonder if he went like national treasure.
Perhaps so, to try and get it back, yeah.
It was discovered 11 years later when a man who had purchased the contents of an old storage locker in Southern California found it.
Now, it eventually was returned to Cage, who had bought it in 1996 originally for $150,000. 6 months later, Cage sold the comic book at auction for $2.2 million.
Well, the private deal to purchase Action Comics #1 was announced on Friday. The purchase eclipsed the previous record price for a comic book, more than $9 million.
And that's, talk about just a wild ride on that. If you were looking closely in that video, it's very neat to see some of the original concept design of Superman. You know, like there are similar features, there are recognizable features, but there are things that they're different. They're a bit different originally, so very neat to see that.
Everything has to be workshopped a little bit.
Exactly.
To see, become the character you know and love. Well, a true David and Goliath story in the animal kingdom. A tiny Chinese muntjac deer went head-to-head with a rhino at Wrocław Zoo in Poland.
Now, the brave little deer, outstanding, charged at the rhino without a second thought, not making much of a dent on the mighty beast, but the playful rhino seemed mostly unfazed by the headbutt, and the two animals sparred together in the snow until the tiny deer made a strategic retreat. Very cool. You got to talk about being brave. And I've seen small animals go up against larger ones. Like, cats have scared the tar out of bears before, and like had them run off. This rhino, on the other hand, not fazed by the deer.
But now he has like a cool cred story. This deer can go back and be like, guess who I fought, guys?
I know, right? He's going to tell all of his friends about it.
I won. I walked away.
Well, here's one other thing that could be walking away with items from your backyard as a manhunt is underway in St. Louis. But officials aren't looking for a particular subject. Instead, they're searching for several monkeys that are on the loose.
In a neighborhood on the north side of St. Louis, Missouri, worried neighbors and a police officer went bananas and flooded the phone lines after spotting at least 1 and possibly 4 monkeys on the loose. Well, how do you get between 1 and 4? Health officials have identified them as vervet monkeys. They have black faces, white eyebrows, and grayish-green fur.
Grayish-green, that's interesting. Well, the vervet monkey's native home is Africa, but at this point, officials don't know where these ones came from. Animal control officers scoured the neighborhood where the primates were spotted and searched all around the local park, but they didn't find them.
Well, officials say exotic animals are prohibited in St. Louis. I'm sure the monkeys are going to hear that law and be like, you know what, our bad. Let us pack up.
We'll relocate. We didn't know we weren't welcome here. Well, I'm sure they'll track them all down. We got another look at your forecast right after this. Again today, we are looking at a nice warm day. Southwest winds gusting to 25 out there. Upper 50s, maybe a couple low 60s down south. Clear skies. Clear tonight, still breezy. Southwest winds gusting to 20. Lows back about 40. Still breezy tomorrow. Low 60s for most of us. And then Our highs on Wednesday, we're going to hit them very early in the morning, very likely even before sunrise. Cold front comes through, gusty north winds, maybe a few showers in the morning with that, down into the teens. Then we fall back into the 30s this weekend, because why not? And then because Mother Nature also says why not, we could jump another 30 degrees in about 24, 48 hours as we roll into the second half of next week. So a big up and down ride here on the temperatures over the next several days.
Well, sounds great, Chris. Well, one fast food chain launches a new promotion giving customers a golden opportunity to win free food for a year. Fans who unwrap a Chick-fil-A Golden Fan Cup will secure themselves 52 entrees, one for each week of the year. The Golden Cup is part of the chain's Classic Cups, which come in 4 different designs and were released January 5th.
And to have a chance at some free food, customers must purchase a Classic Cup. All Classic Cups are wrapped, and customers won't be able to tell if they won right away. Oh, sorry, I'm interrupting your part, but this is interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, Chick-fil-A says the contest will run until July 1st. Both promotions are to commemorate the fast food restaurant's 80th anniversary.
I did not know they'd been around 80 years. That's eat more chicken, as the cow says, and maybe win some free chicken as well.
Yeah.
I can't go wrong with that. And get a cool cup. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this morning. We're back with more news and weather at noon.
Have a great rest of your morning.